What is up, everybody? Welcome to DFS by the Numbers, and welcome to Stat Diggers for UFC Macau. We have Davison Figueiredo going against Petr Yan. And yeah, we got a very interesting card coming up this Saturday, a card that is going to be starting at 3 o'clock in the morning. Sorry, I'm like half asleep. I got like 2 hours of sleep last night. I went to bed at like 5. I woke up at 7. So I'm a little off tonight, but I'm here regardless. So yeah, these fights are starting at 3 o'clock in the morning on Saturday, and we're all going to wake up or stay up and watch Mahashate, Nicholas Mota, and some other fun fights. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about these China cards, man. The late start time, I don't know if it's for me anymore. But are you looking forward to UFC Macau?
There are some fights on this card that I'm very much looking forward to. I think that there's some really good matchmaking on this card. So I'll be enjoying watching the fights. I just don't know if I'm going to be enjoying them live. You know, I mean, like to stay up until 4:30 in the morning to watch Ming Shi versus Feng Xiaokang is maybe not something that's going to happen. You know, I mean, without some kind of like serious amount of amphetamines, which I'm getting a little bit too old for. So yeah, I might just be watching these after I wake up in the morning, but I'm going to enjoy a lot of these fights on this card. I mean, it's another opportunity to make money. So we got to put in the work. We got 14 fights that just got pared down to 13, Brady. Very, very recently just had a fight fall off. So I can't wait to break this down with you today.
Heck yeah. I'm still kind of pumped up from last night. It was a fun card overall. Me and you both did very well. Do you want to quickly recap your UFC 309 results?
Yeah, for sure. So I had a 3-unit money line bet on Marcin Tybura at plus 100. And he was very close to being finished in the first round of that fight by Deniz. And Deniz followed Marcin down when Marcin's got great sweeps. He actually swept him, Sergey Spivak, in the last fight right away. So I don't know what the hell Deniz was thinking, following him down to the ground there, thinking that he was going to get a finish. But he wound up getting swept, put on his back for the remainder of the round. He got taken down in the second and basically was finished at the end of the second round. But referee Herb Dean decided that maybe he wanted to see somebody die that night. But the doctor, Brady, had different plans. So, you know, it was a good one, you know, like Marcin had a great performance. I knew that if he could get on top, that he would stay there for the rest of the round and have a chance to finish with his ground and pound or with a submission. So that one was a 3-unit win for me. I also had 1 unit on Bo Nickel to win and over 1.5 rounds. That line was plus 210, which I was surprised about. So I cashed 2.1 units on that. And I also had a 1-unit bet on Eduardo Mora to win by decision at plus 300. So that was another 3-unit win. So that was a total of 8.1 units in wins. I lost 1 unit on the Basil Hafez scorecards equals no action. He got knocked out by Oban Elliott in the third round. And I also put together just a horrible, horrible parlay, Brady, with Mickey Gall to win and Karine Silva to win. That was a 1.5 unit loss. So over 8.1 units in wins, 2.5 units in losses comes out to a 5.6 unit win. And my greasy 4-legger went tits up. My dog pick of the week was Eduardo Mora. That came through. And Uncle Weezy's ass shaving of the week was Charles Oliveira to shave the ass of Michael Chandler. And that was a great fight. And yeah, Brady, we might need to place another Get Some Help poll. I would like to suggest a couple of names.
Wait, it's funny you said that because while you were talking, that's exactly what I did. I put 4 names on there. Can you guess the 4 names I put?
Okay, so Keith Peterson needs some help. So I would guess that Keith Peterson's got to be on there.
He's one. Next.
Yes. Mickey Gall has
2.
absolutely got to get some help. He just got knocked out by Ramiz Brahimaj.
That's impressive.
It's impressive to lose to in that shitty of fashion. Who else needs some help? Oh God, let me quickly look at the roster of fights there. So
You got the two big ones. Those are all getting on the votes right now.
yeah, I mean, maybe Janice needs a little bit of help. I would say that Damon Jackson might need some help. Jimmy Yontop showing up 11 pounds heavy with face and neck tattoos that probably weighed an extra 3 pounds. Maybe Karine Silva needs help. Who did you put?
I put Basil Hafez.
Basil Hafez, yeah, he got knocked out. By the way, Brady, the take this job and shove it parlay came in at plus 1,800, right?
Mm-hmm.
Eduardo Mora by decision. Cashes. Bo Nickel to win in over 1.5 rounds. Cashes. The third leg, Oban Elliott by decision. And this dude goes out there and knocks out a guy that's never been knocked out, a guy that eats punches with his face like they're flapjacks, and he knocks him out. That would have been a huge hit on the take this job and shove it parlay. So Basil Hafez getting knocked out, costing me 1 unit on my finish only prop. Yeah, I think he might need some help too.
Let's end the poll. Surprising, not really surprising results at all. So, who needs help? Let's end the poll. And the results are with 0%. I put Herb Dean on there just because of the Denise fight. 0% for Herb Dean, not only 9% for Basil Hafez. All the votes went to Peterson and Gall. 40% for Peterson and Gall 50%.
Okay, yeah, and it makes sense. Yeah, I think Mickey Gall needs to start considering another career. If you're getting knocked out by Ramiz Brahimaj, who had never knocked out anybody in his entire career, yeah, then you're done as a high level mixed martial artist. If you want to make your career in LFA or in CFFC, then I think he can keep going, but not at the UFC level. And yeah, Keith Peterson. First of all, he's got it. I don't know if he's drinking anymore, Brady, because he looked like he had lost all kinds of weight. Did you notice that?
Yeah.
He looked skinny, right? And sometimes when you're drinking a lot, you'll pack on some extra pounds, so I don't know if Keith's off the liquors, if he's off the DTs, but there had to be something like 30 consecutive hammer fists to the back of the skull. There wasn't one of those that caught the ear. And why even have a ref? Look, we've talked about this guy for so long. We've joked about it, because he's no nonsense. Keith Peterson, he smells like alcohol and cigarettes. It's funny, right? But it's not it's not funny anymore. What the hell was that?
It's bad.
It's not funny anymore, man. I mean, somebody's gonna die in there. There are boxers that are vegetables right now for getting hit in the back of the head. And he just let that happen for over a minute. 35, 40 unanswered blows to the back of the head, all of them illegal, all of them life-threatening, and he just let it go. So I don't know what the fuck, what's the point? What's the point? These guys are supposed to be worried about fighter safety, and he lets him get away with that? That was crazy.
Yeah,
so
also let him get away with multiple. Chandler got away with multiple cage grabs. He grabbed the top of the cage at one point. I don't think you're allowed to do that. He grabbed the gloves. He poked Charles in the eye twice. It was bad.
Yeah, it really was. But yeah, hey, John Jones had a great night. He looked great, even though Stipe kind of looked washed. The Oliveira Chandler fight was an all-timer. Bo Nickel cruised to victory in a way that we weren't really expecting him to, in an underwhelming performance. Karine Silva and Vivi they went at it, had a fun fight. Hoofy got another win. McGee got another win. Miller gets another submission. Onama gets a decision win. A lot of people weren't expecting that. That was an absolute barn burner of a fight. Tabura showing off the ground game. Mickey Gall gets some help. Oban Elliott, great performance over Basil Hafez, and Eduardo Mora at her right weight class gets a win over Hardy. So fun card, 5.6 unit win for me. Almost hit the take this job and shove it parlay, but on to the next, Brady. We got a lot of work to do.
Yep, we do. Yeah, it was a great night for me as well. I think everything went pretty good outside of the Gall fight and the Hafez fight, but it started the night off with Eduardo Mara money line 1.25 units at plus 122. Got the CLV, which scared me a little bit, but ended up coming through there. Pretty easy decision win. Then I had Basil Hafez plus 3.5 point spread. So I once I saw the scorecards, I was kind of sick to my stomach because one judge actually scored the fight 2-0 in favor of Hafez, giving Hafez the first and second round, and then the other two judges had it tied going into the third. So he won 4 different. He already cashed that plus 3.5 if he wouldn't have got knocked out. So that was on its way to cashing, and then Oban Elliott is the first person to knock out Hafez. And what makes me even more sick is that Jack Della didn't cash my 2-3 KO props in that fight. But yeah, that was wild. So I felt like that was a bad beat. And then I had a bet on Mickey Gall. Really liked that spot, to be honest. I thought that Ramiz, he's only won by first round submission, no other way. And then he goes out there and knocks out Mickey Gall. I couldn't say I was expecting that really at all, but just goes to show you how bad Mickey Gall is, because getting knocked out by Brahimaj, that's impressive. That's impressive to me. So those were the two bad spots in the night. And then after that, everything was pretty much perfect. So I had Marcin Tybura, Janata Deniz fight won't start round 3. And then I had Marcin Tybura round 1 and round 2 KO. Round 2 KO plus 1,600 for a quarter unit. And I'm watching the fight. It's the end. It's getting towards the end of the second round. Tybura's taking his time. And then he's finally in mount, raining down elbows. And he busts up Deniz badly. Deniz looks concussed. His face is full of cuts, full of blood. He's getting his head bounced off the canvas. And Herb Dean doesn't stop the fight. And I'm pissed off, Weezy, because as you know, it seems like every week there's a bad beat that completely ruins my night, and that was the one bad beat. Herb Dean doesn't stop the fight. The fighters go to the corner, and I'm pissed off. I turned off the TV. I said, I'm going to bed. I was supposed to go out with some friends to watch the fights. I said, I'm not going no more. And then I checked Twitter, and I see a tweet saying that the doctor stopped the fight. And then I called you. I was like, did the doctor stop the fight? And you said, yeah. So ended up cashing Tybura round 2 KO, and the fight won't start round 3. Herb didn't do his job, but the doctor did. So that was like an 8-unit swing for me. Cash the fight won't start round 3 in that KO too. So that pretty much made my night. After that, I had the Jim Miller finish only, 1.5 units, minus 105. Great line there. Damon Jackson, he's not durable, and Jim Miller, he is, and he got the sub there. I was expecting maybe a knockout, but got the sub nonetheless. Then I had a bet on Marcus McGee on the money line, 1.5 units, minus 138. In hindsight, I think that Jonathan Martinez could have easily won that fight. I'm not sure what Jonathan Martinez was doing. Honestly, Jonathan Martinez might need some help. He didn't really start fighting until 9 minutes into the fight, and once he did, he really compromised McGee's legs. So, Jonathan Martinez, I think, really dropped the ball, but, a cash is a cash. McGee won the first 2 rounds just based off the fact that Martinez literally didn't fight the first 9 minutes. Didn't have anything on the Hoofy fight, which was good. Was not expecting that fight to go 15. I had the Karina Silva. This is my last bet I added on fight day. Karina Silva plus 3.5. No, Vivian Araujo plus 3.5 point spread. 1.25 units at minus 105. I saw it at minus 125 the day before. Ended up not betting that. And then day of, it moved to minus 105. And I'm like, okay, I feel like this fight's competitive. I feel like Vivian's not going to get finished. And Vivian actually not only cashes the plus 3.5, but she cashes as a big underdog. So got the plus 3.5 there. That was good. I completely passed on the Bo Nickel fight, which was a great pass. I had a weird feeling about that fight. Something felt off. I wasn't sure how Bo was going to attack the fight. Was he going to wrestle? Was he going to strike? I just had really weird vibes with that Bo Nickel fight. And my instincts were right because Bo ends up winning by decision, which I was not really expecting at all. Bo's never even seen a third round. Craig never goes to decision for the most part. So ended up passing on the Nickel fight. That was great. And then I had Michael Chandler KO 1-2 sprinkles. His best round was actually round 5 to my surprise. So those don't hit. but I also passed on the Oliveira Chandler, like the under 2.5, which I had circled. Ended up passing on that. That fight somehow goes to full 5. And then lastly, I had the Jones Stipe over 1.5 rounds, minus 148, I think, for 2 units. I never bet overs, but that was one that just screamed to me. I think there was a ton of recency bias. Jones finished gone in the first round. I didn't think he'd finish Stipe. Kind of got close, to be honest, in the first, but Stipe held in there. He's not a quitter like Cyril Gane, and Jones ended up getting a 3rd round knockout. And what was cool about that is I was with my brother at B-Dubs, and we were like, let's sprinkle the Jones 3-4-5 knockout props, like right before the fight, right when I think Stipe was walking out. And I got Jones 3rd round knockout at like plus 1,300. So that was cool as well. So up 8.11 units. If Hafez didn't get knocked out, would have been like a 10-unit night, but pretty happy with how last night went. Everything really, really fell together. I thought the reads were great outside of the Ramiz knockout. But, I mean, you can't predict that crap. You can't predict that.
No. There's so many things that happen that you can't predict, like Ramiz Brahimaj getting a knockout, even Oban Elliott knocking out Hafez was kind of shocking, when that had happened, I was like, oh boy, this is going to be one of those nights. And it didn't wind up being that for us. So I'm really glad that it worked out well for us. And now we got a very interesting Macau card to break down here.
We got some donos in the chat. We have Big Steve with the $5 dono saying paying Wheezy for his KSW locks.
Oh, dude, Brady, I mean, that I've been on fire with the UFC this year. Probably the best pick percentage of any capper right now, just on fights for the year. In KSW, Brady, I am absolutely destroying. I'm starting my own Patreon, $250 a month just for my KSW picks because they are the best in the business right now. So just because of Big Steve, my guy, I'm gonna send him my KSW locks over the Discord, but they do not go out for free. I am absolutely destroying in KSW, and you know why, dude?
Why is that?
It's because I'm very confident pronouncing Polish names. They're some of the hardest names to pronounce. But I grew up, just outside of Chicago, Illinois, one of the biggest Polish populations in the entire world. And I am spot on in pronouncing their names. And because of that confidence that I have there, it's leading me to KSW pick percentages that are just absolutely mind-blowing. So, yeah, KSW, the next promotion for Uncle Wheezy to just absolutely destroy with picks.
There you go. Well, hopefully you're good at pronouncing these names tonight as well.
Not a chance. These are a lot harder.
Yeah, there's some that are just impossible. And we got Avery with the 99.99 saying the Shiesty 2-legger hits again. Charles and Tybura both shaved major ass for the wins. Unfortunately, Reed bested me once more, and I took Charles inside the distance on 4 parlays, which prevented me from winning 40,000. Rock bottom is next if Macau falls.
Man, dude, Charles inside the distance. That he had so many deep choke attempts. Chandler was eating clean knees to the face. I don't know what got into Chandler's chin recently, but he ate so many clean shots and fought off so many rear naked chokes. I couldn't believe it.
It was crazy, dude. But yeah, shout out to Avery. I'm glad he came up with that Shiesty 2-legger, the Stat Diggers 2-legger, because we haven't missed one leg yet. We've got every one so far. Sometimes fighters pull out, after the show, but I don't think we've missed one. Last week, for me, it was between McGee and Oliveira, and I let the chat decide. The chat went with Oliveira, and yeah, he made it look pretty easy outside the 5th round. So yeah, shout out to Avery. Appreciate you, Avery, sponsor of the show. All right. Let's hit up the chat real quick, then we'll dive into these fights. We have a lot to talk about. We have Sweet Pea in the building. We got Justin Vallejos. We have Elijah One, Glenn Bott. We got K Deep, Iceland Farts. We got our guy Kyle Marley in the building. We got Daniel. We got Big Steve. We got Sage. Good to see you all in here. If you guys have not already, be sure to smash the like button. Do appreciate it. We go live every Sunday besides next Sunday because we have a week off next week. All right, Wheezy, let's dig into these fights. We got UFC Macau. We're going to kick it off 3 o'clock in the morning. Mahashate going against Nicholas Mota. We got Mahashate, 24 years old, 6 foot with a 71-inch reach. Nicholas Mota, 31 years old, 5'9" with a 70-inch reach. Mahashate is going to be 7 years younger. He's going to have a 3-inch height advantage and a 1-inch reach advantage. Mahashate is 3-2 in his last 5 fights. Made his debut against Steve Garcia, won that fight by first-round knockout, which is aging very well. Then lost to Rafa Garcia by decision. Lost to Slava Borsha by knockout, and then beat Gabriel Benitez by a very close and competitive split decision. As far as Nicholas Mota, this guy is 2-1 no contest in his last 5 fights. Had a knockout loss to Jim Miller, knockout win against Cameron Van Camp, knockout loss to Manuel Torres, no contest against Trey Ogden, and then a knockout win against Tom Nolan. So yeah, I mean, pretty exciting fight to kick off the card. I think these guys are going to go out there and probably swing dicks, and I think it's going to come down to who has the bigger dick. Weezy, which guy do you think has the bigger cock?
So I like Mota in terms of power, just pure power. I think that he's got like that lights out crazy power, but he's also extremely chinny. And the last time we saw Mahashate go out there against a pure southpaw in Steve Garcia, he absolutely destroyed him. Knocked him out twice or 3 times in that fight, actually. If I remember how many times it was, but Mahashate's got a really good piston-like straight right hand, so that's a lot more open against the opposite stance fighters that are coming in as southpaws. And Mahashate's taller. He's got better kicks than Mota does, but Mota's got a nasty power in his hands. So it's going to be an interesting fight because Mota is more experienced overall. He's got 7 more professional fights. He's got 1 more fight at the UFC level. He's been a professional since the age of like 18 or 19 when he was first in the Ultimate Fighter house, I think at the age of 20 or 21 when they were doing the Ultimate Fighter Latin America. The market's done a pretty good job of pricing Mahashate's lines recently. Is he won as a favorite versus Benitez. He lost as an underdog versus Borshev. He lost as an underdog versus Garcia. But for Mota, he comes out there and he wins as a plus 275 underdog versus Nolan. Then he gets absolutely dominated by Trey Ogden the fight before that. He was priced as a minus 135 favorite in that fight. And then he got absolutely just flatlined as a plus 150 underdog versus Manuel Torres by a elbow in that one. So, yeah, Mota's been a little bit all over the place, and the market hasn't really done a great job of pricing his lines, while I think that Mahashate is somebody that the market's had a little bit better of a read on recently. And both of these guys do have power. Let me look and see where the over-under is, because while I'm not really running to the window to bet either one of these guys because I could see either guy landing a big shot, the under 1.5 at around plus 120 is something that my model is saying is a little bit underpriced. And there's a 9-fight sample size there. And because both guys have power, I think that my stylistic read says that somebody probably does get served here. So maybe liking violence, maybe liking a knockout early in the fight. But other than that, man, this is kind of greasy. What's the money line here?
Yeah, the money line's kind of shocking to me, to be honest. I mean, Mahashate is minus 210 and Mota's plus 180. Like, Mahashate just went life and death against Gabriel Benitez. Like, he arguably lost that fight as well. So I couldn't lay minus 210 on Mahashate here.
Yeah, but it is in China, or in Macau at least, which is going to be much, it's like a local fight for Mahashate, while Mota's going to have to go halfway across the world for that one. So, and when you're traveling west, it's harder at first than when you travel east. For some reason, I don't know why it is, but whenever I've went on international flights, it's always going back home from Europe that makes it's harder to adjust to for some reason. So, I think that's something we got to be aware of this week, is that this is going to be a massive road fight for a lot of guys on this card. And that's a big disadvantage when you're flying that far from home. So maybe that's why Mahashate is this big of a favorite. But yeah, man, being minus 230 against against Benitez and fighting like a -110. That's not a good sign. And then you price him, at a similar number against a much more dangerous fighter in Mota. So there could be some recency bias here playing towards the Mota side, giving you a little bit of value on his money line.
Yeah, I think there could be for sure. I know Mota looked like absolutely awful against Trey Ogden, but I mean Mahashad is not taking him down, so I don't think we have to worry about that. And Ogden's just a weird fighter in general. Like Ogden made Daniel Zellhuber look like the biggest bum ever. So I'm not really looking at that fight too much. I think it's a close fight. I think these guys are going to stand and bang, and I think one man probably does fall. Yeah, Vitek's bringing up a good point. So apparently they're done with the new gloves for next year, but for the remainder of the year, they're using the new gloves for these 2 fight nights, which will be this card and Tampa Bay, and then they're going to use the old gloves for UFC 310, which is annoying. But apparently, they said that they don't have enough old gloves ready to go yet. So we're gonna have the new gloves for this card.
Okay, so maybe less of a chance of a knockout then. That's interesting. But both these guys do have power, though. That's the problem.
They do. They absolutely do. But yeah, it's just something to keep in the back of your head there.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to the next fight. It is Long Zhao going against Kwang Li. We got Long Zhao, 26 years old, 5'8" with a 70-inch reach. Kwang Li, 33 years old, 5'6" with a 70-inch reach. Long Zhao is going to be 7 years younger. He's going to have a 2-inch height advantage, going to have the same reach there. Long Zhao made his debut against Chung Ho Lee, lost that fight by a very close decision. Fight could have went either way. And then as far as Kwang Li, he took a fight on short notice against Chris Gutierrez, was able to steal a round off of Chris Gutierrez. I think this is the closest line fight on the entire card. Weezy, what are your thoughts on this one here?
So last time Long Zhao fought, I bet on his opponent and cashed, but it was such a close fight, and it easily could have went either way. And what I noticed about Long Zhao's fights is that whenever he fights this level of competition, it just winds up being an extremely close fight. Like, I think this line is exactly where it needs to be. When I bet on Chang Ho Lee, I kind of said to myself, all right, I think that Chang Ho Lee's the more the better striker and the more likely guy to win minutes in the grappling exchanges. So I was like, I'll take a shot on him at +100. And then as the week went on, I kind of said to myself, oh man, as I looked a little bit further into it from there, like I'm flipping a coin here. This fight's going to be extremely close. And that's exactly what happened. And Long Zhao's good. He's got good takedown defense. He can he's an efficient grappler. When he throws with power and purpose, but he's a very low volume striker though. And it was the same thing on the Lee side, actually, in his first fight against Chris Gutierrez, only attempting 5.9 distance strikes per minute, but he did attempt 11 takedowns over the course of that fight. So, yeah, this is one that I still feel like I need a little bit more information on Kwang Li, because with Long Zhao, you got a guy who's just he's not really great anywhere, but he's not bad anywhere. And he's got 34 professional fights and 400 minutes of cage time, despite the fact that he's only 26 years old, which if you think about it is ridiculous. You turn pro at 18 and then you have 34 fights over 8 years. 34 fights over 8 years. I mean, that's almost 5 fights a year, dude. That's crazy. So, yeah, this guy's been staying very, very busy, and he's got a ton of experience, and he's just kind of good everywhere, but not gonna blow your socks off in any area of the sport. 13 finishes and 26 wins, and this is against some pretty low-level competition on the Asian regional scene. So, yeah, just kind of like a middle-of-the-road fighter who can kind of, match you in whatever it is that you do best. And since Kwang Li only has 9 fights and he's 33 years old, you're getting a guy in Long Zhao that's got way more experience, and he's also 7.5 years younger. So add to that now he's fighting at home, while Kwang Li, who's an American, really is going to have to go back now to Asia to fight this fight. So I think that this one probably favors Long Xiao, but Long Xiao is in a lot of close fights. So, I mean, I kind of feel like I don't know if there's much to do on this money line because I think it's probably right about where it should be.
Yep, I couldn't agree more. Cod Live says, "Who?"
Who?
And
Yeah,
we're gonna be saying that about like everybody on this card. To be honest, I mean,
that's true.
I didn't recognize like half these fighters. We have, I think, well, we had like 8. I think we have like actually 10 fighters that have been on road to UFC or more. Like, there's a ton on this card.
Oh yeah, there are so many. They're all
Oh,
over the place, up and down. Minyang Zhang was on it. Kong Wang was on it. In addition to the 8 fighters that were supposed to be fighting, but one of those fights got called off already.
good,
Yeah.
good.
Less work for us. I'll
It
take
is
it.
so like even just learning the names is that's the hard part. I gotta spend like hours just working on these names. I mean, some of these names are brutal, but yeah, I'm seeing the fight the same exact way. What I will say about Long Zhao is I was expecting Chong Ho Lee to have a lot more success in the wrestling.
Yeah.
But it was like very competitive. Like Long Zhao even took down Chong Ho Lee twice, and he was actually able to out control him. So I thought that was very impressive. And in terms of the volume, Long Zhao is low volume, but Kwang Lee is no volume. So I do lean Long Zhao ever so slightly, but yeah, like you said, it's going to be close. Maybe we do see Kwang Lee go out there, be able to get some takedowns, but yeah, it should be a close fight nonetheless. A fight that I'll be staying away from. Yeah, Long Zhao opened up plus 145. He's currently minus 120. Kwang Lee opened up minus 170. He's currently plus 100. And of course, this over is juiced to minus 200 over 2.5 rounds there, which makes sense. Both these guys are super tough.
Yes. Long Zhao in particular is very, very tough. But yeah, that's going to be a fun fight, I think.
Yep. Moving on, we have Lonnie Kavanagh going against Jose Ochoa. We got Kavanagh, who is 25 years old, 5'4" with a 67-inch reach. Ochoa, he's 23 years old, 5'7" with a 68-inch reach. Ochoa is 2 years younger. It's going to be Ochoa with also a 3-inch height advantage and a 1-inch reach advantage. Lonnie Kavanagh, 5-0 in his last 5 fights. Had a first-round knockout win on the Contender Series against Antoine Ho, who's not bad at all. Knocked him out brutally inside of the first round there. As far as Ochoa, he is 4-0 and 1 no contest in his last 5 fights. Had an illegal strike in the Ruiz fight there. So yeah, I think this is a really fun fight here. Probably, I think this is like a sleeper for like fight of the night potential. I know it's buried down on the undercard here, but yeah, these guys are going to bring it. Kavanagh, I was very impressed with him. I picked him to win on the Contender Series against Antoine Ho. I think he's very well rounded. He can mix in the grappling. Really good striker as well, and a ton of power. Both these guys have a ton of power. Ochoa has a 100% finish rate. This guy has really nice head kicks, and a couple illegal strikes thrown in there as well. I think there was like 2 fights where he's like throwing some illegal strikes, and the no contest was one. But yeah, this guy has a ton of power in his own right. Should be a fun fight here. Lonnie Kavanagh, I think there's a lot of hype on the dude. He's a big favorite here. Weezy, what are your thoughts on this fight?
Yeah, definitely a potential fight of the night here because this guy Ochoa is going to bring it. Southpaw, shoot box Diego Lima. You see Charles Oliveira in his corner for a lot of his fights on the regional scene. And he is just kind of a guy who throws a lot of offense at you. He will, when you're on the mat, he's looking for submissions. When you're on the feet, he's kind of coming forward and he's throwing with power and purpose. Now, Loney is going to be the much more technical and precise striker, the guy that's more likely to land the big shots. He's more likely to win the minutes and the moments, in my opinion. But this guy Ochoa is durable and he throws a lot of offense. So I kind of feel like when I saw Loney fight, did you watch Loney's fight against Sean De Silva, El Vato Loco?
Probably.
It was the most recent one right before the Antoine Ho fight that he fought this guy in Cage Warriors. I think like a 6-1 fighter.
Yeah.
This guy reminds me a lot of Ochoa. And Loney almost knocks him out in the first round, but the guy's durable. He fights through it. And then he starts really putting on the pressure in the second. And in the third round, you see Loney actually, which is very comforting if you're thinking of betting on Loney, go to grappling in the third round, which I didn't really know that he had because he's only got 1 win by submission, but 2 wins by decision, 4 by KO. And we know that he's got a kickboxing background. The guy's like a 5-time world champion kickboxer, started kickboxing at the age of 8. And I'm talking about Loney Kavanagh here. So to see him actually break a little bit under the pressure of De Silva, but then be able to grapple and win minutes in the grappling in the 3rd round of that fight, I found that to be very impressive. But I also didn't love how Loney dealt with the pressure, because he is going to be dealing with pressure in this fight. But I do think that while this is at distance striking range, Loney's going to be more precise. He'll be the better minute winner, and he'll be the better moment winner. But I think he's going to be on his bike a lot here. And this guy Ochoa was supposed to fight on Dana White's Contender Series against Jack Duffy, I believe. But it was Ochoa who had to pull out, and now he's kind of jumping the line. He doesn't even have to go back to Contender Series, even though he was the one that pulled out. And he's getting this fight against Kavanagh in Macau. And even though if you look at a name like Loney Kavanagh, does not look like your average Chinese name, but he is half Chinese. His mother is Chinese, and his father, who passed away, was Irish. I forget whether it was Irish or English, but somewhere there in the United Kingdom. So this Macau fight for Kavanagh, this guy actually has the Chinese flag next to his name on his Tapology profile. So this is, in a sense, Loney Kavanagh being from England, but of Chinese descent, this is going to be kind of a hometown fight for him. The crowd's going to be behind him, while Ochoa is a guy who trains in Brazil and is from Peru. So, yeah, I think Kavanagh, I liked what I saw from the grappling. I think he's going to be the better minute winner wherever the fight goes. I think both these guys are going to have chances to win moments, but I'm definitely leaning to the Kavanagh side here, and I think he's going to win this one by decision.
Yeah, he's minus 360, which is a hefty price to pay. And we got Ochoa, who is plus 285. So yeah, really big favorite there in Kavanagh. Don't know if I love that. They set the over under at 1.5 rounds, which is interesting. The over 1.5 is minus 185. The under 1.5 is plus 155. I kind of like violence here, but not a 1.5, to be honest. But yeah, I think this is going to be one of the more entertaining fights on the entire card, actually.
Yeah, absolutely. Did you see that Avery hit us with another donation, dude?
No, I did not.
$50, my friend, our guy.
Oh, how'd I miss it? Shout out to Avery, $49.99, saying only money lines this week. We're getting it back in blood. Yeah, we'll see. Nothing's sticking out for me yet, but maybe something will stick out by the end of the show. I know we've been killing the Stat Diggers parlay, so maybe we'll find something at the end there.
We definitely got to hit it again. And yeah, and Avery just, that's the thing. It's like you look at those money line minus 260 for Oliveira inside the distance minus 200. And you look at that and you're like, yeah, I'll just take the minus 200. It's not like this one's going the full 5 rounds. And then it goes the full 5 rounds. So sometimes, you just got to throw the money line in there, even no matter how sure you are that somebody's going to be, especially if you're parlaying.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't expect that to go 5 rounds. I didn't expect Bo Nickel to go 3 rounds, but yeah, that was weird. So yeah, shout out to Avery, our guy. What the F? Kavanagh is Chinese.
Half Chinese. Yep. His mother is of Chinese descent.
And I agree. We need to get Yazong Hu. Why isn't Yazong Hu on this card? Let's give him a call.
Dude, legendary Greco-Roman wrestler up there in China. He's won both tournaments where he was the only person to show up to the tournament.
It's not easy showing up sometimes.
Hell no. Remember, that's how that Hawaiian or the dude from the islands won the brown belt world championship. He was the only one that showed up.
Just show up.
He was 2-5 in the UFC. Frank Camacho. Remember he was a brown belt world champion that never showed any jiu-jitsu at all in the UFC, never shot a takedown, never used it, only got knocked out, and you'd be hearing world champion Brazilian jiu-jitsu. It's like bullshit. With world champion, how did anybody show up to that tournament? Yeah,
he's a black belt and getting knocked out, Frank Camacho. Not good. Not good. All right. Yeah. Hopefully we get Yazonghu back into the UFC pretty quickly here. I don't know what he's doing. All right. Let's move on to the next fight. All right. Some of these names about to get crazy. You're gonna have to forgive me. I usually spend a lot of time trying to pronounce these names, but today I did not do that. So let's try it. So we have Nyamjargal Tumendemberel.
Nyamjargal Tumendemberel.
Nyamjargal Tumendemberel.
Nyamjargal
Nyamjargal
Tumendemberel.
Nyamjargal Tumendemberel. Tumendemberel.
Yes, there you go. You got it. Those Mongolian names, they roll off the tongue, my friend. They're so easy to say. It's just you got to get into the rhythm. It's like me with my KSW picks with the Polish names.
Let's see if I can.
Yeah.
Oh, did you hear it?
No, I couldn't hear that.
Oh, I can hear it. Nyamjargal. That's right. And then she's saying Tumendemberel.
Okay.
Jeez, man. What the heck? What are we doing?
A lot of letters. That is a lot of letters.
What are we doing, dude? So Nyamjargal, he is 26 years old, 5'7" with a 71-inch reach. Carlos Hernandez, 31 years old, 5'8" with a 67-inch reach. Nyamjargal, he is 5-0 in his last 5 fights. And then we have Carlos Hernandez, who is 2-3 in his last 5 fights. Decision win against Victor Altamirano. Submission loss to Alan Nascimento. Decision win against Denis Bondar. Knockout loss to Tatura Tayar. And then a decision loss to Ray Saruria. Weezy, were you able to look into Nyamjargal?
Yes, I was. So he's an interesting fighter. He's a fun guy. Like 1 win by decision, 2 by KO, 5 by submission, which is kind of weird because this guy just swings hammers. He just swings hammers, nothing else. So I don't even remember where any of these submissions came from. But I mean, and if you think this dude's name is hard to fucking pronounce, Brady, you should see the guys that he's fought. Dude, this is the easiest name out of the people that he's fought. Like Thanong Saklek, Chua Tataner, Mayasui Watanabe, Namsarai Batbayar, Munkhchuluun, Enkhzorig.
All right, there's no way this guy's real.
Yeah, it's a Mongolian name, you know, like that's Munkhdelger Bat Erdeen. And then we've got what the Temuulen Algirmaa, 7-8. Tough kid, though. Tough kid. Mongolian fighters, you know. What's the wait, go to the bottom name. The bottom, very bottom, right there.
Oh wow.
What the wait, is that the Black Rabbit? Oh, the Quick Rabbit. Okay. And that's Urtnasan Damdinragchaa. Urtnasan Damdinragchaa. 1-3.
What's up with that haircut?
Oh my God.
You don't see something like that not in 2024.
Dude, that is a guy that cuts his own hair, Brady. Yeah. That is a man who cuts his own hair.
Wow. Because
either that or some barber in Mongolia just got beaten to death by a professional. And then look at Enkhzorig Munkhchuluun, 0-1. Tough guy, though. I wouldn't want to fight him.
I wouldn't want to be in the same room with him. I mean,
no.
Yeah.
No, I mean, like, can I buy a consonant?
Oh,
what the hell. I mean, like, how many U's do you need in your last name? I mean, how can you even have more than 3 U's in your last name?
I've never seen anything like it.
Isn't that illegal?
It should be. Jeez.
And no other vowels either? Only U's?
Just U's.
No I's, no A's, no O's? Even sometimes Y's a vowel. I don't see any Y's in there either. But like, yeah, dude, this guy, he's fought some names. But he goes out there just trying to kill. While Carlos Hernandez is a guy who's been to decision 7 times in his career, and he's 5-2 in decisions. We know that Carlos can wrestle. We know that he can grapple. We know that he's a really good scrambler. We know that he's got really complete a good boxing game. He's got good footwork. He throws a good straight jab. He mixes up his weapons well. So he's a very good fighter. Excellent conditioning, good submission grappling game, really greasy and in the scrambles. So I think that this is going to be an interesting fight because we've still got a lot more to find out about Tumendemberel because the level of competition has not been great. He's been getting finishes against guys that have entirely too many U's in their last names. And Carlos Hernandez has no U's in his last name. So this is going to be a completely different situation here. I'm looking forward to this fight, but as I understand, Hernandez is a pretty big favorite here.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you about that. So I haven't researched this Nyamjargal guy yet. But what's interesting to me is like typically Hernandez is like always the underdog, right?
Yeah, always.
Like, and a big
one. A massive underdog against Saruya last time out, like plus 350, I think.
Yeah, so it's just interesting to see him be a favorite against Nyamjargal.
Yeah, because like that seems to be some recency bias in the line because I mean, like Carlos Hernandez was an underdog to Dennis Bondar,
right?
You know, and now here he is at minus 200 against a dude from Mongolia, and Mongolians are tough dudes. They're tough dudes. So this guy's going to be scrappy, and like I said, when you watch him fight Brady, you're just going to be like, "There's no skill. This guy has no skill at all. He goes out there looking to take your head off." Those guys are dangerous.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, like I said, I need to look into this Norma guy a little bit more. What do you think of the total though?
Well, Hernandez is pretty fairly durable guy, but he has been finished in 2 of his 3 UFC losses.
Yeah, got knocked out by Tyar and subbed by he got sub. Oh, it's Nascimento, and then Nyamjargal. He's not been finished, right? But
yeah, but 6 of his 8 fights as a professional have finished under 2.5 rounds, and 7 of his 8 fights have finished inside the distance. So this guy's fights do finish, and 4 of his 8 fights have finished in the very first round. While for Hernandez outside the UFC, 3 of 7. So, you know, if it does finish, it's probably going to finish in the first round. So maybe if you want to bet violence here, instead of betting an under 2.5, I'd maybe go with an under 1.5 for a fight doesn't start round 2.
Yes, should be a fun fight here.
Yeah, it's gonna be. It's gonna be. This Tumendemberel, he hasn't been in there in quite a long time because he had to pull out of his last fight. Let me see what the layoff is. It's over a year for Tumendemberel, but he's still only 26 years old, so the kid's going to be improving between fights.
Yep. For sure. Sorry, I was Google translating some of these names but gee, this is another tough one. Shi Ming versus Shang Kong Fang.
Xiao Kahn
Fang.
Yes.
All right, we got Fang, who's 22 years old, 5'7" with a 66-inch reach. Shi Ming is 33 years old, 5'2" with a 60-inch reach. Fang 5-0 in his last 5 fights, and then we have Shi Ming, who is 4-1 in his last 5 fights.
These are women. You can't tell, dude. I know it's Chinese, you know, but like, yeah, these are women, female strawweight. So these are not dudes. Yeah,
it's my B. It's my B.
Yeah, it's all right, man.
Easy, take it away.
So, I did watch these ladies' fights when they happened on Road to UFC. You know, they're straw weights. They don't have big finish rates. Ming Shi has had a split decision win and a unanimous decision win, while Zhao Kang, she fought poor Kiran Singh, who was not ready for this level. and finished her. Got a unanimous decision win over Miki Mitono, she had actually also fought on the regional scene and beaten by submission. This is probably going to be a very what do we got for the money line? Yeah, they got Xiao Fang as a -300 favorite because she's looked a lot more dominant in these road to UFC fights than Ming Shi has. As a matter of fact, the one against Hushang Dong, god damn these names. Huaxing Dong, I think it's Hushang. She probably didn't deserve to win it. So Ming Shi is not dangerous. That's the problem. She's got a lot of submissions. She's 6-1 to the submission, but she didn't show awesome takedowns. So I think that Xiao Fang is going to show a lot more power on the feet. She's actually got some knockouts, and if she can keep the fight standing, I think she's probably going to win it because Ming Shi is not going to set herself apart while this is at distance striking range. So Fang's the rightful favorite here, but it's a women's strawweight fight that's predicted to go to decision about 80% of the time, Brady. So, do you want to lay -300 on a favorite in that kind of situation, especially when Ming Shi might be the more marketable fighter here? It's probably a stay away unless you want to bet Ming Shi by decision here, but I got to look further into this one for sure.
You could tell how much research I did on this because I thought these were men. Again, I do see that Fang has a loss to Liang Na.
Yes, cool. Liang Na submitted her very early in her career. She's been in there against a couple of the names on the Chinese regional scene that are going to be the higher level names that you would fight while there. So I think that's another thing that potentially there could be a strength of schedule advantage on the Fang side as well.
Yeah, we got Fang -300, Shi Ming at +240, the over-under set at 2.5 rounds, the over 2.5 -400, the under 2.5 +300. I'd be shocked if I bet this fight.
Yeah, well, you might not even research it. I mean, it's one of those, dude. It's a women's strawweight fight where it's probably going to decision. There's a big favorite, and the judges are going to get involved about 8 out of 10 times. Have fun.
I'll be sleeping during this one for sure. Yeah. For sure. Because it's going to be like 5 o'clock at this point. I'm not staying up at 5 o'clock in the morning to watch this fight.
I'm going to call you up.
Don't do that.
Ming Shi by decision.
No, don't do that. I'll be like, what? Who cares?
We did it, Brady. We did it. And so you're like, what? What?
Oh, jeez. So that was the first road to UFC fight, right?
Yes, it was. Yes.
And let's talk some more. What do you say?
Let's go, man.
Let's do it. We have Kuru Sahota going against Donghung Choi. Those weren't so bad. We got Sahota, 29 years old, 5'10" with a 73-inch reach. Choi, 25 years old, 5'5" with a 66-inch reach. We have Choi 4 years younger. It's going to be Sahota with a 5-inch height advantage and a 7-inch reach advantage. Sahota 4-1 in his last 5 fights, and we got Choi is 5-0 in his last 5 fights. Weezy, what are your thoughts on this road UFC fight?
Yeah, so this Kuru Sahota is a huge flyweight at 5'10" with a 73-inch reach. So what he basically does is he strikes. He tries to use that unusual height and length for the division, keep at distance striking range, and outpoint his opponents. Not showing a ton of power up at these levels here. On the regional scene, he's finding some knockouts, a couple of submissions. But for the most part, Kiro is going to be a guy who's going to be winning minutes and looking to keep the fight standing. Donghung Choi has 0 wins by submission, and he's going to be at a 5-inch height disadvantage and a 7-inch reach disadvantage. So I'm kind of interested to see, how he tries to close the distance here against Sahota, who's got a kickboxing background, British guy of Indian descent here in Sahota. So British guy, Indian descent, going up against a Korean fighter in Macau. Sahota's fights were very close in the road to UFC, Brady. The Xiao Yin fight and the Ruel Penales fight were both could have went either way. Dong-Hoon Choi, both of his fights were split decision wins as well, but he got wins over Jieleyisi and Angad Bisht. And Bisht is a guy that throws with a lot of power. He was a fun guy to watch on that road to UFC tournament. And Jieleyisi, I believe, was one of the favorites coming into the tournament, got upset by Dong-Hoon Choi. Let me look at my notes. I want to see what the lines were, because he was a minus 245 favorite over Bisht. But, and they didn't have lines for the first round of this tournament, which was super weird. They're not available on Tapology, and they weren't showing them on the road to UFC. So that's always one way that I really like to analyze the fights, but not having lines leaves us with a little bit less information here. Another fight that I need to look more into, but what I'll be looking at, Brady, is can Choi get takedowns? Can he win minutes and moments on the mat? Because if not, it's going to be very difficult for him to try to close the distance and outpoint a guy in Sahota who does a very good job of using his unusual height and length for the division to do exactly that.
We have Choi opened up minus 170. He's currently minus 145, and Sahota opened up as a plus 145 underdog. Is currently plus 125. The over-under set at 2.5. The over 2.5 is minus 260. The under 2.5 is plus 200.
Yeah, so you're looking at a decent sized favorite here, almost 60% implied for Dong-Hoon Choi, and the judge, or I mean, like the markets are telling you this thing's probably going to go to decision 2/3 of the time. So you got to really look and see which one of these guys has a better minute winning skill set. And Dong-Hoon Choi 5-0 to the decision as a professional, and Kiru Sahota's 4-1. So both these guys can win minutes. So right now, I'm thinking that there might be a little bit of value on the dog here in Sahota due to those anthropomorphic advantages, to quote Liam Pick's fights there. I always just use measurables because even I can't pronounce anthropomorphic.
No, just like I can't pronounce a lot of these names coming up, especially this next one. Geez. All right. Bar Gang.
Mm-hmm.
Really? Bar
Gang.
Jieleyisi. Jieleyisi.
Yeah, it's like actually what it is it's like JIE, and then there's another name LEYISI, but a lot of times they put them together. You know, like how you got Auri Chilang.
Yeah,
but it's just written out AORIQILENG. I think Jieleyisi is a name that is two names into one, and then Bear Gang. That's a weird. China's a huge country, dude.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a massive country, so there's just so many different cultures and styles of names, and like I guess this guy's maybe from the Sichuan region. And then you got a Korean in Soo Young Yu. Now you would have gotten that one perfect.
Yeah. Well, I would have said, "Yo."
Yeah, well, that's that's actually even better.
Yo.
I got
All right. We got Jieleyisi going against you. We got you, who is 3-1 and 1-0 contest in his last 5 fights. Jieleyisi, who is 4-1 in his last 5 fights. Weezy, what can you tell us about these two road to UFC fighters?
So Soo Young Yu is the inventor of a martial art called Jiu-Jitsu. Just like Joseph Benavidez invented Jiu-Jitsu, Jiu-Jitsu was actually invented by Soo Young Yu out of South Korea. So he's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu player, Brady, but he's kind of got like his own little Korean spin on it, South Korean spin on it, because like North Korean Jiu-Jitsu is just way different than South Korean Jiu-Jitsu. It involves a demilitarized zone and a very authoritarian government, but the more free-flowing jiu-jitsu of the South Koreans is what Yu brings to the table here. As far as Jieleyisi, 23 professional fights, so the guys like these Chinese fighters, man, they fight so often. A lot of them are fighting 3, 4, 5 times a year. This guy's no different. Still only 28 years old. They're both 28 years old. These guys are basically the same age as they've been born, just about 2 weeks apart. So I think that this is going to be a fun fight as well. I liked what I saw out of the jiu-jitsu from you. And what I also liked from him was when I saw him getting put on the bottom, he wasn't happy there. He not like a lot of jiu-jitsu players that'll just actually kind of come out there and be okay on their back, lose minutes there. He's going to try to get back up if you put him on his back, and he wants to be on top, winning minutes and blending his ground and pound in his jiu-jitsu. Jieleyisi, I've forgotten his fights, but he's a guy who's actually fought some decent names on the regional scene. So I think that he's probably got a little bit of a strength of schedule advantage in this fight, but I got to go back. Jieleyisi is just a guy I don't remember. I remember, you being a jiu-jitsu guy who's got some ground and pound knockouts as well, but I don't know too much about this one, man.
Yeah, me either. It's gonna take forever to look into these road to UFC fights. It's gonna take so long. But yeah, looks like
watch these guys, but these fights happened like over 2 months ago, and we've had nothing but cards for the last 2 months. We've had 8-9 weeks in a row, so it's like it's crazy how you can just forget a fight that happened 6 or 8 weeks ago because you get so bogged down in breaking down the fights every single week.
Yeah, I didn't watch it. I saw some highlights posted on Twitter, but I did not catch the fights. But we have Yo is currently minus 140, and then Jieleyisi is plus 120. The over under set at 2.5 rounds. The over 2.5 minus 170, under 2.5 plus 140.
140 now. It was 125. So the money's coming in on the overs here because it was minus 155 for the over 2.5 when it opened. So yeah, I think people are thinking it's going to go over. I would, according to my model, Brady, 38 fights for these guys, and 42% of them have went over 2.5 rounds, and you're paying 63%. So it might be a little bit overpriced on the overs here.
All right. There we go. There you have it. So I think that was the last of the Road to UFC fights, right? Because this one's canceled, right?
Yeah, the next one, Binji versus Kang Ji-Zhu, is canceled. Kang Ji-Zhu is injured. So Binji, the stalker, will not be stalking anybody this weekend unless they come up with a short notice opponent for him.
Good.
Agreed.
Good.
14 fights is too many, man. 13 is good. Let's lose the Jieleyisi Yu fight or the Ming Shi versus Xiao Kang Fang fight.
Oh, well, let's talk about some actual fights now.
Let's do it. This is a fun one.
This is an actual fight. We got Zhang Mingyang going against Ozzy Diaz. We got Zhang, who is 26 years old, 6'2" with a 75-inch reach. Diaz, 33 years old, 6'4" with a 79-inch reach. It's going to be Zhang, who's going to be 7 years younger. It's going to be Diaz with both a 2-inch height advantage and a 4-inch reach advantage. Zhang Mingyang made his debut against Brenson Ribeiro, won that fight by first-round knockout, also knocked out George Tokas in the road to UFC. As far as Ozzy Diaz, he is 4-1 in his last 5 fights. He lost to Joe Pyfer on the Contender Series by second-round knockout, but he's getting an opportunity here against Zhang Mingyang. So yeah, this is probably one of the most violent fights, if not the most violent fight on the entire card. The under 1.5 is juiced to minus 210. I think somebody's probably getting served here and getting served very brutally. Weezy, what are your thoughts on this fight?
Yeah, it's going to be such a fun fight. We saw Mingyang Zhang come into the road to UFC. He fought George Tacos and Tacos, I believe, was a minus 700 favorite in that fight. And Tacos came in looking fat and slow, and Zhang just absolutely destroyed him. And then he made his UFC debut back in February on the Topuria Volkanovski card against Brenson Ribeiro, and he knocked out Ribeiro in the first round. So Jang is 17-6 as a professional. All 17 wins are finishes. All 17 finishes come in the first round. So this guy has never won a fight in 23 tries that has started the second round. Not once. Not once has it happened. So there are so many unanswered questions about Minyang Zhang, right? We know some things, though. We know that he's Gordo's Valentine because he fought on February 17th of this year, so it was the week of Valentine's Day. We know that our guy Gordo has a thing for Minyang Zhang, and Minyang Zhang reciprocated by winning for Gordo and winning in spectacular fashion against Brenson Ribeiro. But I think it's really important to mention, Brady, that he was plus 450 to a bum like Tacos, and he was a pick'em against a guy like Brenson Ribeiro, and now they're making him a almost minus 300 favorite here against Ozzy Diaz. And if you look at the names that Ozzy Diaz has been fighting, Moses Murrieta, Bruno Assis, Body Bags Pfeiffer, Chuck Campbell, UFC veteran Bevan Lewis. Ozzy Diaz has 9 professional wins. All 9 of them are finishes, Brady. So you got 2 guys with 100% finish rates. Ozzy Diaz has been finished in both of his losses. Minyang Zhang has been finished in 5 of his 6 losses. So these guys have got 34 combined professional fights, and only one time has either of these guys seen the scorecards. So, but the thing about Diaz is we've seen him in second rounds before. Another thing about Diaz is we know that he can mix in the wrestling and win minutes with his grappling game. That's a good thing against somebody like Zhang. And what we know about Zhang, too, is that this guy's got a chin on him. He's got a head like an Easter Island statue. He was getting finished a lot early in his career, but he was honestly, he turned pro at the age of 16. He turned pro at the age of 16. So a lot of those fights where he was finished, he's 17, 18, 19 years old, fighting guys like John Vake and Askar Mozarov on the regional scene at the, before he was even 21. So Zhang is a guy that's very young, that's getting a lot better, but by far the best win of his career is Brenson Ribeiro. So even though he's won something like 9 fights in a row, maybe 10 fights in a row, even though he's finishing everybody in the very first round, what happens if it goes to the second round? What happens? What does his ground game even look like? I really don't have the answers to those questions because he's only got 70 minutes of tape in 23 fights. His average fight time is 3.1 minutes. And Diaz's average fight time is 4.6 minutes. So, yeah, somebody's probably getting served here. But this is a very, very interesting line because it's a high variance fight. Both of these guys have a ton of pro experience and a ton of finishing ability. But I feel like Diaz has fought the much better brand of competition. If you want to see some bums, go look at the names that Minyang Zhang beat before he beat George Tacos. Guys like Chang Chuang Ho, who's like 1-6. Guys like Han Dong Kong. Remember Dong Kong? We talked about him last time, and he's beating a lot of these guys 2 and 3 times. Like poor Chang Chuang Ho is like 2-6. In 3 of those 6 losses, there's Han Dong Kong. There he is. That's his best win, by the way. Outside of the Tacos and Ribeiro fights, that's the guy on the regional scene resume where you're like, holy shit, that's the best win for Minyang Zhang.
Jeez.
Look at that fat prick Chang Chuang Ho.
Where's that?
Go up just there. You go. 2-6. And I think 3 of the losses, I think he's beaten this guy 3 times. Like, scroll down. See how many of the losses are to Minyang Zhang.
Couple. 2.
Oh, only 2 of them. Okay. He's only beaten him twice. All right.
Yikes.
Yeah. So it's bad names. He's not beating yet. Look at that fat prick.
You don't see tits like that these days, not on men at least.
Yeah, dude, he's probably bigger than 80% of the Chinese women in terms of tits.
Yeah. I mean, I'm a big fan of tits, but that's not those tits.
No. As a matter of fact, I can't believe they're even allowed to show that picture.
I might get flagged after showing a pair of tits like that.
He lost to Koji, who's 7-11. He got a win over Siyamer from India.
Even have a picture. Not even have a picture.
Oh, he's from Iran. Okay.
Is this Askar Mozarov?
Yeah, it sure is.
Dang.
He lost to him.
Mozarov hasn't fought since that Mennefield fight.
Yeah, I think when you lie about your record, all of a sudden the promoters stop calling.
Yeah. Makes sense. Let's see. Yeah, I mean, it's a big line, dude. Zhang Wingyong, -310. Ozzy Diaz, +260. The over-under set at 1.5 rounds. The under 1.5, -210. The over 1.5 is +170. Yeah, I think somebody's running into a dick saw here.
Yeah, that's just how it is. That's exactly what's going to happen here. 1 decision in 34 combined professional fights. So, yeah, but with the pillow fist gloves, you never know, right, man. You never know.
We've seen crazy things happen with these pillow fist gloves. So
yes.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, probably you can't lay -210 on under. I mean, maybe you can parlay it, but even then, I don't feel great about it. We got Joel with the $9.99. Appreciate you, Joel. Says thanks, bro. Came in first place in the late first round, captain DFS, $5,850. Jeez, great advice as always. Appreciate you, Joel. Enjoy those winnings. That's a monster hit there. Shout out to Joel for that.
Nice.
I got you. I was waiting. We had to pull up some of these bombs to show on the screen. Let's see. Somebody's asking where can we get some of those haircuts? I don't know, dude. Where do these guys get these haircuts at?
I don't know, man. I know so little about China as a whole, but it doesn't look like their barbers do great jobs.
Yeah. The old gloves are back. Yeah, they were back for last card, but apparently they're using the new gloves for this card and the Tampa Bay card, yeah.
And then next year it'll be all back to the old gloves. Yeah.
Don't ask me why. Apparently they don't have enough. It was Dana's words, not mine. I don't get it, but it is what it is. All right. I say we move on to the next fight. Then we have Volkan Oezdemir going against Carlos Olberg. We got Oezdemir, 35 years old, 6'2" with a 75-inch reach. Olberg, 34 years old, 6'4" with a 77-inch reach. Olberg 1 year younger. Olberg with a 2-inch height advantage and a 2-inch reach advantage. Oezdemir is 3-2 in his last 5 fights. A decision loss against Magomed Ankalaev. A decision win against Paul Craig. Decision loss against Krylov. Submission win against Bogdan Guskov, Wheezy's favorite fighter, and then a knockout win against the very durable Johnny Walker. As far as Carlos Olberg, he's 5-0 in his last 5 fights. Knockout win against Stefan Nchukwu. Knockout win against Nikolai Negamarianu. Knockout win against Ihor Peteria. Submission win against Da Bum. And then a knockout win against Alonzo Mennefield his last time out. So I think this is going to be, well, yeah, it's a step up in competition for Carlos Olberg. He's been going out there and handling business, but handling business against really low-level competition. I guess outside of like Mennefield, but even Mennefield is not somebody I'm too high on. If he's able to go out here and beat Oezdemir, it's going to be his biggest win by a mile. Whereas on the Oezdemir side, he's fought guys like Magomed Ankalaev, Paul Craig, Nikita Krylov, very good guys throughout his career. And even like before that, he fought DC before. He's fought pretty much everybody at this point. So yeah, it's going to be a good test here for Olberg, and he's coming in here as a pretty decent sized favorite. Wheezy, what are your thoughts on this fight here?
Yeah, Olberg has been a market darling, if you will. He was a underdog to Stefan Nchukwu. Outside of that, he's been a favorite in every single one of his UFC fights. So, and even the fight against Kennedy, that looked like he was going to win that fight, and he just got Homer Simpson. So Olberg's looked really great at the UFC level. He's 6-1, but he could be 7-0. And Oezdemir has fought the much better level of competition, though. I mean, when you look at how the wins line up, let me read my strength of schedule analysis for this. Now, Volkan has 7 more fights at the UFC level compared to Olberg. The combined UFC records of Volkan's 14 UFC opponents is 117 wins and 79 losses. That's a 1.5 win-to-loss ratio, and an average opponent has 14 UFC fights. While for Olberg's 7 UFC opponents, their combined records in the UFC are 27 wins and 28 losses. That's 7.9 total fights and a 1.0 win-to-loss ratio. So it's clear to see that Volkan has fought the more experienced brand of UFC competition with the better win-loss ratios. In addition, Volkan's UFC wins over Ovin St. Preux, Misha Serkinov, Jimmy Manua, Ilir Latifi, Alexander Rakic, Paul Craig, Bogdan Guskov, and Johnny Walker. That's a pretty good list of names. And then you compare him to Olberg's wins over Fabio Charant, Tafan Nchukwi, Nikolai Negamarianu, Ihor Peterier, Daun Jung, and Alonzo Menefield, who he beat in like 12 seconds with one punch. So there's a big strength of schedule advantage on the Oezdemir side. Both of these guys have got power. But what I'm interested to see is if Volkan can get the wrestling going here. Because we know that Carlos has good takedown defense. He's a well-rounded mixed martial artist. He can even, find some submissions of his own or land some ground and pound if he gets on top. But Olberg just hasn't seen a lot of wrestling. You know, when you look at those names, these guys aren't really people that are out there trying to wrestle him. Carlos Olberg has only been facing 1.3 takedown attempts per 15 minutes of fighting on average. So I think it would be interesting because Volkan, first of all, is going to be able to hold his own on the feet with Olberg. He's a very good striker in his own right. He's been out there against Johnny Walker, Nikita Krylov, Ankalaev, Rakic. You know, so it's not like Carlos Olberg is bringing anything that he hasn't seen before in the UFC cage and actually performed pretty well against. So there's a big strength of schedule advantage on Ozdemir's side. There's and that in itself leads us to believe that he could probably keep this close on the feet. Well, I mean, I still think Olberg's the better minute winner at range. I still think he's probably the better moment winner at range as well. And he's going to be 2 inches taller and he's going to have a 2-inch reach advantage. But those experience advantages on the Oezdemir side, the strength of schedule advantage, the fact that he's got a 3-to-1 knockdown ratio while Olberg's is 5-to-1 against lower level competition. And if Oezdemir does get takedowns here, you know, he could win minutes and moments on the mat as well. So I think Oezdemir is another live underdog here. There's just been a lot of situations where Olberg's been priced as a favorite in literally every single fight except for the Nchukwi fight. So the market's gotten him right, but Ozdemir's won, you know, for 3 of his last 4 fights, and he's fighting much better names than what Olberg's been fighting. So I think that there's some opportunities here for Oezdemir, not just to win minutes in the grappling exchanges, but potentially moments there as well. And I think he can keep it close on the feet.
Yeah, for me, it's one of those where I like Olberg. It's just I hate the line. He's minus 245 currently. Oezdemir is plus 210. I think Olberg wins the minutes on the feet. I think he's the better striker. But yeah, minus 245. There's a lot of things to like on the Oezdemir side. I do think he's a live dog as well at the number. The over-under is interesting to me, actually. It's set at 1.5. The over 1.5 is only minus 141. The under is plus 111. Like, Oezdemir is very durable as far as even like both guys are. I kind of like the over there.
Yeah, but the reason why it is so expensive for the under is because we've seen Olberg's fights finish inside of 2 rounds in I think 6 of his last 7 fights. You remember he got tired against Kennedy, and he got knocked out in the second after he kind of like threw everything out there, and Kennedy just ate everything. So he was worried about getting tired in his next fight against Fabio Cherant, and he did nothing for 3 rounds. Well, after the Cherant fight, here's what happened. Enkhzorig, first round knockout, minute and 15 seconds. Negumereanu, first round knockout, 3 minutes 44 seconds. Ihor first round knockout, 2 minutes and 9 seconds. Daun Jung, third round late finish with 11 seconds left in the fight. And then after that, Alonzo Menafield, first round knockout, 12 seconds. And then you look at Volkan, he finished that bum Bogdan Guskov in the first round by a rear naked choke. He knocked out the very durable Johnny Walker in the first round. But then he had decisions before that to Krylov, Craig, and Ankalaev. So I think that, with Oezdemir's last 2 fights finishing in round number 1, with Olberg's fights out of the last 5, 4 of them finished in round number 1. 6 out of the last 7 between those two guys have finished in round number 1. So that's probably why you're seeing these unders juiced to the tits.
Yeah, maybe I'll bet in over 2 weeks in a row. I did it in the Jones fight. I thought there was a ton of recency bias there. Same thing here. I mean, yeah, Olberg's finishing, but against who?
Yeah.
Against who?
Well, he did finish Negumereanu, and that guy's got a head like an Easter Island statue. He's actually unable to move it.
That's true. He is durable, but he is so hittable though. But he is durable. I'll give you that for sure.
Well, yeah, it's like trying to throw a baseball into a brick wall. That's how easy it is to punch that dude in the head. I mean, it's the biggest head in the world. So, and when you can't move it and it's that big, you're just going to have bad defense.
Yeah. No, his head, probably the biggest head in the UFC. I can't think of a close second. Can you?
Oh, God, no, I don't think so, dude. I mean, there are some big heads and stuff, but like Tanner Boser's got a really big head. Yeah, dude, like
I think it's
I remember so many, but Negumereanu, I think he's the guy with the biggest head, not just in the UFC, maybe in the world. That doesn't have some kind of like a medical condition,
Yeah, I think you're right. I think you're right about that.
Yeah.
All right. So, was that the main card opener or the feature prelim?
It depends on whether they're doing a 6-fight main card because it's a fight night or a 5-fight. But yeah, it looks like we're to the final 4 fights now.
All right, sounds good to me. Let's talk some Kong Wong. She's taking on Gabriela Fernandez. We got Wong, 32 years old, 5'6" with a 66-inch reach. Fernandez, 31 years old, 5'6" with a 67.5-inch reach. Fernandez is 1 year younger. It's going to be Fernandez with a 1.5-inch reach advantage, same height between the two. Wong is 5-0 in her last 5 fights. She made her debut against Victoria Leonardo, knocked her out in about 60 seconds. As far as Fernandez, she is 3-2 in her last 5 fights. Made her debut against Jasmine Jazz DeVicious, lost that fight by decision, lost the decision to Teresa Bleda, and then won a split decision against Carly Giudice. So this, I believe, is the biggest favorite on the card here. Kong Wong coming in at minus 750. She was also a massive favorite in her fight against Victoria Leonardo, but it's safe to say this is a lot tougher of a fight than Victoria Leonardo. Weezy, what are your thoughts about this one here?
It's a lot tougher of a fight than Victoria Leonardo, but Victoria Leonardo just won last weekend.
Wow.
Yeah, dude, like she actually got back to the cage faster than Kong Wong did when Victoria Leonardo got knocked out in 60 seconds. That's how tough Victoria Leonardo is. That's how scrappy Victoria Leonardo is. But Kong Wong is on another level right now. I mean, she was minus 1,000 in her road to UFC fight against Paula Luna. She was minus 1,200 to Victoria Leonardo in her UFC debut. She beat Wu Yanan on the regional scene. She beat Amina Hadaya on the regional scene, who's a decent regional scene fighter. I think she might have beaten Hadaya in Brave, if I'm not mistaken. She had a fight somewhere over in the Middle East, whether it was UA Warriors or Brave. But and Kong Wong has a kickboxing win over Valentina Shevchenko way back in the day, like 20 years ago or something like that. But well, it wasn't that long ago, but it was a long, long time ago. So This is a kickboxer versus kickboxer matchup here, though. And it's going to be Gabby, who's probably the slightly bigger, thicker, longer fighter here. She's more experienced at the UFC level and as a pro, and she's fought the better brand of competition. That's for sure. Having fought Jazz Davicius, Bleda, and Giudice, and in the Bleda and Jazz Davicius fights, it's important to note that she was taken down 7 times and controlled for 22 minutes out of 30 minutes in those fights. And we just recently saw Fernandez go 3 hard rounds with Carly Giudice and come out with a split decision victory, which proved that she can stand and bang. And that's what Kong Wong does as well. So, I mean, this line is stupid. I don't think she's going to go. I don't think Kong Wong's going to go out there and knock out Gabriela Fernandez. Are they just absolutely juicing the unders here to the tits as well?
Yeah, I'd say so. It looks like the under is plus 131, which is not good at all.
Yeah, I thought that it might be more expensive, and I thought they might have even set it at 1.5, but yeah, 2.5, that's a lot more. That's makes a lot more sense because Gabriela Fernandez isn't Victoria Leonardo on the feet. Victoria just doesn't have much striking, but Gabriela does. She's athletic, she's tall, she's long, she's strong. She's got good kicks, good straight punches. So I think that she can keep this close, but Wong's a gigantic favorite for several good reasons. The grappling game looks to be improving. The kickboxing pedigree is undeniable, and she's flashing power too, which is rare for these divisions. So yeah, Kong Wong's probably going to win this fight, but I think the line is just kind of silly. This might be a spot where you can get on a plus 3.5 points handicap on Fernandez at better than plus 200. And I think that she's going to land some big shots in this fight and potentially win a round. Might be something I sprinkle a little bit this week.
Yeah, I like Kong Wong as well. Minus 750 though. No, she's actually minus 900 on some books. I see minus 900. We might see minus 1,000. Apparently, there's some solid hype on her. Fernandez is not like some bum though. We got to remember, she's not Victoria Leonardo.
Yeah, she's not. I mean, and Leonardo's good in other places. She can wrestle a little bit, she can grapple, she can clinch up, she's tough. But yeah, if you're going to put her out there against Manon Fiorot or Kong Wong or Natalia Silva at distance striking range, it's going to go like you think it would go.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I think the big favorite should roll here, and I'm thinking by decision. We'll see what the decision props, because if the over is only minus 160, maybe the decision props close to even money. I wouldn't hate that either. All right, let's move on to the next fight. It is Song Kenan going against Muslim Salikov. We got Song Kenan, 34 years old, 6 foot with a 71-inch reach. Salikov, 40 years old, 5'11" with a 70-inch reach. We got Song Kenan, 6 years younger, 1-inch height advantage and a 1-inch reach advantage. Song Kenan, 2-3 in his last 5 fights. Knockout loss to Max Griffin. Knockout loss to Ian Gary. Decision win against Rolando Bedoya. Decision loss to Kevin Doucette. And then a decision win against Ricky Glenn. As far as Salikov, he is 2-3 in his last 5 fights. Knockout loss to the Leech. Knockout win against Andre Fiallo. Decision loss against Nicholas Dalby. Knockout loss against Randy Brown. And then a decision win against Santiago Ponzinibbio. Yeah, this is a fight where this is, I guess, maybe the one money line that kind of sticks out. But even then, it's still nasty. I really do like Salikov here. I think he's going to get the fight that he wants. I think he's the much better striker, has a lot more tools on the feet. But at the same time, he's 40, dude. So I don't know.
Listed age. That's the listed age.
Yeah, he's
His
actually
Tapology picture is 43 years old, and he was an adult. But they changed it, by the way.
Really?
Check out. Yeah, dude. I think Muslim might be a fan of the show because we've been making fun of that Tapology picture for the last 4 fights.
Dang it.
Yeah, it's no longer the black and white photo from 1913. It is him. He could be a vampire.
Dang, that sucks.
You think about it, right? Russia's a big place. Russia's very close to Romania. And inside of Romania, you have what? Transylvania. It's all kind of coming together like butt cheeks, isn't it? I mean, sometimes you have to put together all the pieces of the puzzle But I think Muslim Salikov might be a vampire.
He could be. But
He's ageless.
He is. There's some of those guys that are just ageless, like Azat Mirzakhanov. That guy's ageless.
He's ageless. Yeah, dude. I mean, like, these guys, they look the same now as they did when we saw them first fight in the UFC. And it's like, how the hell do you look the same age after 15 years of getting beaten in the face? And the answer is they're drinking human blood.
Yes.
I mean, like, it's not something that normal people do, but evidently there's some benefits to it. Not that I'm going to start. I'm too old to start, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, maybe it's a good base for MMA.
It could be, but geez, both these fighters, I'm not too big a fan. I typically like to go against these guys every time, but they're going against each other type thing. So, what are your thoughts on this matchup?
I like Muslim here. I just think he's the better striker overall. I mean, he's got a positive 0.6 distance striking differential compared to negative 1.8 for Song Kanan. So Song Kanan's not a minute winner at range, really, unless he's fighting somebody like Ricky Glenn or even the Rolando Bedoya fight. He got out-volumed, but he landed knockdowns, I think, in like 2 of the 3 rounds. So it was enough for him to win the decision, even though he got out-volumed. But the difference between Rolando Bedoya, who's another dude with an Easter Island statue head that's very easy to hit, and Muslim Salikov is Bedoya's out there, absorbing 8 distance strikes per minute, while Muslim Salikov is out there with a 67% distance striking defense, only absorbing 2.8 distance strikes per minute. So unless you're knocking down Muslim Salikov, I don't think you're winning minutes against him. And I mean, if we're going to talk about who's the better wrestler, it's Salikov. He's Russian. Song Kanan is probably doing Greco-Roman wrestling with Hu Yazong, while Muslim Salikov is over there in Dagestan with killers on the mat, outstriking them and then learning how to wrestle from these guys. So, yeah, I think Muslim actually wins this fight here. I don't think Song Kanan's that great. I think he's going to need to find a knockout here. I think he's got no chance to win this fight unless he lands a knockdown. And Muslim Salikov has only been knocked down twice in 11 UFC fights. So I think he's the better defensive fighter. I think he's more accurate as a striker. And I think that's going to translate to him winning minutes in this fight and getting a decision win.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty disgusting that the only thing sticking out thus far for me is Salikov. That's very disgusting. But yeah, he's opened up minus 160. He's currently minus 170. Song Kanan opened up plus 140, currently plus 145. The over-under set at 2.5 rounds. The over 2.5 is minus 190. The under 2.5 is plus 160. Any thoughts on the total? I don't know. I feel like this fight might suck. Like most Salikov fights just really kind of suck. But not a ton goes on.
Over 2.5 minus 195. Actually, the under 2.5 rounds at plus 160 is a trifecta bet on my template with a 21 fight sample size. So I find that kind of interesting because both of these guys do have power, and I don't see there being a lot of striking, or I mean, a lot of grappling, like a lot of clinching. You don't have to worry about either one of these guys getting a submission. And if they stay at distance striking range like they usually do, Brady, we got 85% of Song Kanan's UFC cage time spent at distance striking range and 81% for Salikov. So that tells us that this fight's probably taking place at range for at least 80% of the fight, and that there are going to be chances for each guy to land a knockdown or a knockout. Maybe this fight does go under, but I still think it's probably Salikov by decision.
Yeah, I'm actually picking Salikov by knockout, so I don't hate the under, but yeah, we'll see. Like Song's been knocked out how many times? 2?
Twice in the UFC, 4 times in his career.
Yeah, he'll probably get. Yeah, I mean Max Griffin knocked him out. That's not the best look. Gary, nothing's wrong with that Gary knockout, but no. Yeah, we'll see. I think the under's not terrible.
Neither do I. Well, the numbers like it, and since you don't really worry about either of these guys getting submissions that much. I mean, like Song Kanan's got 7 in his career, but I'll bet you he probably just submitted that Chinese dude with tits 6 times and maybe some other random dude. So
yeah, I think they're gonna strike. All right, let's move on now to the co-main event. It is Yan Xiaonan going against Tabitha Ricci. We got Yan Xiaonan, 35 years old, 5'5" with a 63-inch reach. Ricci, 29 years old, 5'1" with a 61-inch reach. Ricci, 6 years younger. To be Yan Xiaonan with a 4-inch height advantage and a 2-inch reach advantage. Yan Xiaonan, 2-3 in her last 5 fights. Knockout loss to Carla Esparza. Decision loss to Marina Rodriguez. Decision win against Mackenzie Dern. Knockout win against Jessica Andrade. And then a decision win against Zhang Weili. As far as Tabitha Ricci, 4-1 in her last 5 fights. Submission win against Jessica Penne. Decision win against Jillian Robertson. Decision loss to Lupi Godinez. Decision win against Tisha Pennington. And then a decision win against Angela Hill. Pretty fun co-main event here, Weezy. What are your thoughts on this one?
I think it's just going to be a really close fight, man. I think that Tabitha Ricci's striking is getting a lot better. It's getting a lot better, and she's doing a lot better job of just being able to keep things close. Close enough that if she's not quite getting the job done with her striking, she can go to her wrestling and win minutes there. See, if you look over at the top right of that spreadsheet, you're going to see a lot of red in the grappling stats under Yan Xiaonan, and you're going to see a lot of green in the grappling stats under Tabitha Ricci. Tabitha Ricci gets 3 takedowns per 15 minutes and only allows 0.3. Yan Xiaonan gets 1 takedown per 15 minutes, and she allows 1.5. Yan Xiaonan wins about 25% of the control time positions in her fights. Tabitha Ricci's winning 95% of the control time positions in her fights. So she's just done a really good job of kind of keeping the striking exchanges close enough that where when she's not winning them, she can kind of go to the grappling to win minutes. So I think that this fight's going to play out close because even though it's clear to me that Yan Xiaonan is the better minute and moment winner at distance striking range, what worries me a little bit here is that the woman that's the better distance striker spends about 38% of her UFC octagon time in control time positions, where she's losing 75% of those control time positions, where she's getting knocked out on the ground by Carla Esparza, where she's getting controlled on the ground by Mackenzie Dern when she is taken down. And really kind of going very close at distance striking range with somebody like Marina Rodriguez. So I think Yan is going to be fighting on some very thin margins here, a little bit thinner than what her money line might suggest. And you know, with you've also got a trajectory thing going on here with Tabitha Ricci still being on the right side of 30, but Yan Xiaonan being 35 years old. So Yan Xiaonan's the better striker, in my opinion. Tabitha Ricci's the better grappler, in my opinion. And I think that they've both got really good minute-winning skill sets. Yan Xiaonan, 7-2 to the decision in the UFC. Tabitha Ricci, 5-1 to the decision in the UFC. And I know this fight is in Macau, but if you're looking at the long-term plans of the women's strawweight division, I think I can assure you that the UFC has bigger plans for Tabitha Ricci than they do for Yan Xiaonan at this point. So I think there's some value on this Ricci side. The question is, can she get this fight to where it's only 60% standing and 40% in control time positions? Because I think if she does, I think she wins a decision here. What do you think, man? You think this one's going to play out close?
Oh, yeah, 100%. I'm not really as high on Yan Xiaonan as a lot of people are. I think she does have, holes in her game that can be exploited. Obviously, we saw Carla Esparza go out there and just completely, we've never ever seen Carla Esparza do anything like that. Elbowed her, and it was so bad that I think Keith Peterson stopped the fight. I think it was Keith Peterson reffing. He stopped the fight. Drunk Keith Peterson actually. That's how bad it was. So, yeah, I mean, Tabitha Ricci has a path here. Obviously, if this fight takes place on the feet for 15 minutes, it's Yan Xiaonan.
Yeah.
But, I mean, Ricci's going to go for takedowns, and I think she can potentially get some here. So, yeah, at this line, dude, it's absolutely a dog or pass. The fact that we are in Macau, that is a little concerning for me. But yeah, plus 170 there for Ricci, minus 200 for Yan Xiaonan. If she can get takedowns, like I think this line could be very, very off here. The over under set at 2.5 G's. The over 2.5 minus 425. The under 2.5 is plus 325. So we're going to decision more than likely. And yeah, I think this one should be line closer to a pick 'em. I would say maybe look at the plus 3.5 for Ricci, but it's going to be juiced. But yeah, maybe the money line is kind of interesting here.
Agreed. I think the money line is really good on the Ricci side right now, just from what I've seen from her performances lately. I mean, she just beat Angela Hill. That's a damn good win. She just kept it close with Tisha Torres. That's a really good opponent there. Lupe Godinez's fight was very close. She stuffed the takedowns and outworked Jillian Robertson at distance striking range. So even though Yan Xiaonan's been fighting at the higher level, when you look at these recent fights for both fighters, Yan Xiaonan's like a notch above in terms of name recognition where Tabitha is in terms of their opponents. But I think if you look at how they're performing, it's very interesting. I think these ladies are extremely well matched. And like I said, Tabitha's just getting better. She's only 29. She's winning 4 of her last 5 fights. She's subbing Penne. She beats a tough fighter in Robertson. She beats a tough fighter in Pennington. She beats a tough fighter in Angela Hill, who I have a lot of respect for. And if you can hang in the striking exchanges with Angela Hill, I think you can hang in the striking exchanges with Yan Xiaonan.
And something we didn't mention, which I'm shocked we didn't, is Yan Xiaonan is coming off of literally dying. She died twice in the Zhang Weili fight. She got submitted. What round? Yeah, she got submitted in
second round, right?
Second round. She got submitted. She goes out cold. Jason Herzog wakes her up, says, "Get up, get up." He picks her up, takes her to her corner, doesn't stop the fight, and then Zhang Weili proceeds to TKO her in I think the third round or fourth round as well. The fight didn't get stopped there. So yeah, she's coming off of getting finished twice. I think Yan Xiaonan's the first fighter in UFC history to lose by decision, knockout, and submission all in one fight, courtesy of Jason Herzog. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, those are records that you don't see broken often, man. And I don't think we'll ever see that one broken. It's almost impossible to get finished 3 different times. Remember, who was it that Joe Benavidez finished twice? Was it Schnell or was it Royval? I forget. Remember Joe Benavidez? He knocked somebody out. The ref came in and stopped the fight and then said, "You know what? No, I'm not stopping it."
Oh, yeah, I do remember that. Forget who it was, though. I do remember that, though.
Damn, I want to say it was Schnell, but I don't think it was Schnell. It was a high-level opponent, and he beat him twice. Oh, it was Alex Perez, right?
Alex Perez.
It was Alex Perez.
I forget, but I know what you're talking about, though.
Yeah, that was a wild one, but yeah, you don't get to see fighters get finished a couple of times in the same fight.
Yeah, that was crazy. Like she literally lost by decision, knockout, and sub, all in a 25-minute span. That was wild. So, yeah, could be a potential dog spot there for Ricci. We'll see. But yeah, that's the co-main event. Yeah. Staying away from the fight. They're not going to give Ricci decision in China. Yeah, that's kind of the worry.
I'm not worried about that. I'm worried. I like to see the social media A side here is definitely Tabitha Ricci. Dana White loves her boyfriend, the Irish boxer dude. What's his name? Callum Walsh or something like that.
Yeah.
So there's a relationship there on the Dana White side. I think that Tabitha Ricci is like the more marketable fighter. So I don't care whether it's in China, Antarctica, Greenland, Vegas. I think that I'm not worried about the decisions not going Ricci's way. Shit, man. That Pennington fight was close. That Angela Hill fight was close. So she won both the decisions in those fights. So this could be a third decision win in a row here for Tabitha Ricci.
It could be. I am worried about the judges in general, though. One judge had Basil Hafez up 2-0 last night.
Yeah, that was wild, man. I mean, I don't know how you got to Basil winning the second round because Oban was just doing so much more. And however many clean shots Basil landed, Oban landed at least that many. So that was really weird. Like, he might have even lost that decision if he hadn't have gotten the knockout, if that third round had been close.
That's what it was looking like, because one judge was still up 2-0, and the other judges had it 1-1 going into the third. So, yeah, the judges are just complete ass. All right. Time for the main event. We have Petr Yan going against Deiveson Figueiredo. Before we talk through this main event, we have 315 of you guys watching. If you guys could smash the like button, subscribe to the channel. We go live every Sunday breaking down the card nice and early for you guys. Kind of a weird one this week. About a third of this card is like Road to UFC, but trying to break it down as best as possible for you guys early on a Sunday. All right. So we'll start with Petr Yan. He's 31 years old, 5'7" with a 67-inch reach. Deiveson Figueiredo, 36 years old, 5'5" with a 68-inch reach. Petr Yan, 5 years younger, a 2-inch height advantage and a 1-inch reach disadvantage. Deiveson Figueiredo, he is 4-1 in his last 5 fights. Decision win against Brandon Moreno, knockout loss against Brandon Moreno, decision win against Rob Font, submission win against Cody Garbrandt, then a decision win against Marlon Vera. As far as Petr Yan, he is 2-3 in his last 5 fights, a decision win against Corey Sandhagen, decision loss to Aljamain Sterling and Sean O'Malley and Merab Dvalishvili, and then a decision win against Song Yadong. 5-round fight here, and it's going to be an interesting test here for Figgy at bantamweight. So he's passed some good tests, to be honest, thus far. I mean, Rob Font, that's no easy fight by any means. Cody Garbrandt, same thing, not an easy fight. Marlon Vera, definitely not an easy fight, but if he's able to go out there and beat Petr Yan, that's a great win in the bantamweight division. Weezy, what are your thoughts on this main event?
Yeah, what a fun fight. But, I mean, I've got to be on the Petr Yan side here because Deiveson Figueiredo has always been a moment winner at distance striking range, plain and simple. The guy's got 12 UFC knockdowns. He's only yielded 1. But Petr Yan wins moments with the best of them at distance striking range because he's such a clean and technical striker. He's so great at just figuring out the chinks in his opponent's armor and exploiting them by getting those reads. He's very defensively sound. He uses all of his weapons extremely well. And if I'm picking one guy here to actually win in the wrestling exchanges, it's going to be Yan because I think he's the better wrestler. He's definitely got the better takedown defense compared to Figueiredo, who's been showing 59% takedown defense between this division and 125 pounds. Deiveson Figueiredo's pushing 37 years old as a bantamweight. He's never been the best minute winner at this level, but he can find those moments. But moments are extremely difficult to find against Petr Yan. So, and everybody's been talking about how Figueiredo is just this massive bantamweight. He can't make the cut down to flyweight anymore. He's not a big bantamweight. I mean, like, Petr Yan's one of the smallest bantamweights in the division, and Figueiredo is 2 inches shorter than him. So, I never really loved the move up for Figueiredo, but I think it makes sense at the age of 37 that you don't kill yourself for weight cuts anymore. I think it just gets harder and harder as you get older. But also, it's harder and harder to perform up a weight class as you get older because you're going to be dealing with more power. And in the case of Petr Yan, you're dealing with, I think, a more well-rounded fighter and for sure a more technical striker on the feet. So I'm going to go with the younger guy. I'm going to go with the taller guy. I'm going to go with the guy that I think is going to win the minutes and the moments in the distance striking exchanges, and the guy that I think has got the wrestling upside in this fight as well. So I'm going with Petr Yan here.
I mean, I totally agree with you 110%, but I'm kind of shocked at the line because I thought there might be some recency bias in a sense that Petr Yan's like 2-4 in his last 6 fights. Figgy's on a nice little streak here at bantamweight, but Petr Yan's minus 340. I really wasn't expecting that wide of a line.
I didn't even look at the line. I had no idea. Minus 340?
That seems like kind of silly. I mean, I was not expecting that at all.
Man, that's wild. I mean, I think Yan wins, but this is Deiveson Figueiredo. I mean, when was the last time Yan was priced as that big of a favorite?
Ugh.
Let me look here. Yan minus 155 versus Song. He was minus 275 versus Merab. He was minus 285 versus Sean O'Malley. So maybe that's what the market is taking into account, is that, you know, he was probably minus 500 the second time against Aljo. So maybe because those lines were all so wide, and this guy hasn't been priced. I don't even know if Peter Yan's been priced as an underdog yet in the UFC. Let me look. Against Sandhagen, he's minus 250. In the rematch against Aljo, he's minus 450. The first match against Aljo, he's a pick'em. Against Aldo, he's minus 260. Against Faber, he's minus 550. Against Jimmy Rivera, he's minus 360. So this guy has been just a huge favorite in every UFC fight. So while I'm surprised by the line too, Brady, the market's just doing and pricing this Peter Yan line in a very similar way to how he's been priced for most of his last 8 or 9 fights, I'd say.
Yeah, I mean, fair enough. I like him to win. I just can't justify this line at all. The over under set at 4.5. The over 4.5 minus 125. The under 4.5 minus 105. I don't have a strong lean on the total. I would lean decision, but both these guys are dangerous.
They're both dangerous, and it's not like Figueiredo is a guy known for his durability,
right?
So, yeah, but you know, Yan is. Peter Yan, yeah. Has Peter Yan ever been finished as a professional? I don't think so.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah. So yeah, that's this is a great main event. But yeah, I like Peter Yan here, but I'm really surprised at the line too. I had no idea he was that big of a favorite.
Yeah, David was like, I like Yan here. I looked at the line, minus 340. What? Give me a break. Give me a break. So I like Kong Wong minus 750. Come on. We need you in office. We need you in office. We need you fixing these lines.
We got to bring back 5 dimes, man. Yeah. We can keep the rest of these pricks honest.
Oh, some of them. We have to pay minus 310 for Zhang Mingyang. Minus 310?
Dude, that's I'm going to be betting Ozzy Diaz.
Why not?
You cannot be plus 500 to Tuco Tacos, and then 2 fights later be minus 310 to Ozzy Diaz. I don't get it. I don't get it. That is just crazy. This guy's never won a fight that's been out of the first round.
I'm scared because shout out to our guy Avery. We've been doing a stat diggers parlay, and I don't know what to do. I mean, I have a couple in mind. I like Kavanagh, but I don't know if I love the minus 360. I like Salikov, which is a decent line, but it's disgusting. Yeah. I like Yan, but the line's absolutely way too wide.
Yeah.
What do we do? I'm not touching the road to UFC fights.
No, me neither. I got to research them further before I look into them.
All right. I don't want to get this wrong. This is big. We've been on a roll here. Oh, God. Who do you like?
I was going to say Peter Yan, but I thought he'd be minus 180.
Yeah.
I mean, like, at these prices, there's no way I would lay minus 240 on Olberg versus Oezdemir. There's no way I would lay minus 310 on Minyang Zhang. There's no way I would lay minus 200 on Xionan Yan. I could see
even Hernandez in there. Hernandez at minus 205 just sounds gross.
It does. It sounds really gross because Hernandez is a guy that's fighting in the margins. He barely beat he beat him, but like the Bondar fight wasn't a blowout. I think they even gave Bondar around there. So how do you weigh this guy Tumendemberel? I mean, he really is trying to take your head off. So I could see Carlos getting dropped there. I mean, didn't Tyra knock him out?
Yeah. Beat his ass.
Fuck, man. Dude, there's a lot of live underdogs on this card, Brady. You know maybe what we're doing this time? maybe we're getting our guy Avery some serious plus money this time. Maybe that's what we're doing.
I'll go with Salikov.
You're gonna go with Salikov?
Yeah, I'll go with Salikov.
Oh boy.
Oh
boy.
Oh gosh, this card.
I'm getting us some plus money, Brady. I'm going with Tabitha the Baby Shark Ricci to grease up this fight. Plus 170 for Tabitha Ricci. She's going to win a decision. And we parlay that with the 77-year-old vampire at minus 170 in Muslim Salikov. And that two-team parlay comes out to plus 329, Brady.
Geez, that's greasy.
It is greasy. We're laying juice on a 163-year-old man who most of the pictures are in black and white.
Yeah.
And we're taking a 5'1" midget to beat a Chinese woman in Macau.
Oh, God.
But it's the half-court shot for our guy Avery Marino. We're sending it. And I think we're hitting this at plus 329.
Shout out to Avery with another 49 at 99. Yeah, we've been killing the Stat Diggers parlay, man. But if we hit this one, I will be very, very impressed because I don't feel good about either of those legs, to be honest. But those are probably what I would go with.
Yeah, man. I don't, dude. I think there's so many live underdogs. Moda at plus 180 is live. Ricci at plus 170 is live. Ozzy Diaz at plus 260 is live. Gabriela Fernandez at plus 550, I think is going to look a lot better than plus 550. Is she going to win the fight? Probably not, but I think that there's some... Dude, this Ochoa guy that's fighting Kavanagh, I'm telling you, man, he's going to bring it. He's going to be there. This Tumendemberel swings hammers. Davison Figueiredo's plus 280. I'm going to say it, Brady. I'm going to say it. We've seen a lot of favorites covering, and the parlay boys are getting more and more bold. They're pushing these lines out further and further. I think this is the week. This is going to be the week where you see 3 or 4 underdogs in the plus 170 and above range cash.
I could see it. This doesn't feel like a parlay card to me at all. Like at all. So maybe we do get some dogs. So what a card. What an interesting card. But yeah, we did it. Went through all 13 fights. Weezy, any final thoughts on the card as a whole? And also let people know what you got going on throughout the week.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the end of this week, Brady. I think this is the 8th or 9th straight week of UFC action. So we're a little bit burnt out, Brady and I both. And we've got Thanksgiving coming up. We've got 2 weeks after Thanksgiving, and then the year is over. So I'm looking to ease into this card, get the work done by Wednesday night for all my Patreon and Dub Club members, and looking to stack them high again like we did last week, and then go into this Thanksgiving break with something to be thankful for. But I think that this is going to be a very fun card. I can't wait to research it further and start placing some tracked bets here. But there's definitely some spots that got my eye.
Yeah, I think two spots got my eye that I have circled. I'll say three spots that kind of stick out. I had the most action I've had in a very long time last night. I think I was like 13 units. I'd be shocked if I had like more than 3 or 4 on this card. Quite frankly, I'd be disappointed if I had more than like 4 on this card. So going to try to keep it light and go into the off week. And then we have 2 solid cards to end the year. 310, which is a good card. And then Tampa, which is another good card. So
they're both great cards.
Yeah. They're 2 good and 14 fight cards as well. 14 fight cards. Heck yeah. But yeah, guys, thank you all for hanging out with us on a Sunday, breaking down UFC Macau. My full card breakdown should be out sometime Tuesday or Wednesday. Have a ton of work to do on these road to UFC fights. They're going to take forever to research, but be on the lookout for that. And then for best bet this week, I'm thinking about going live Friday night rather than at 2 o'clock in the morning. So be on the lookout for best bet at Friday night sometime. Yeah, guys, best of luck for UFC Macau, and we'll talk to you guys soon. See you later.